going to be speaking with you on the historical evolution of caring and caring science in the US. And so I'll start with, I have quite a few PowerPoints, which we have quite a discussion this morning at the faculty assembly about, the use of PowerPoints and how maybe we have to find different ways. And I said, well, at the Anne Boykin Institute Summer Academy, we use that idea of the evocateur and how that engages people in the dialogue, which is pretty splendid. So anyway, we'll see how that unfolds, for education at large. So I'm going to try now to see if I can do my shared screen. Hopefully I'm successful here. So let's see here. So has all that worked out?
No, it's not there, Dee.
Oh, it's not there yet?
No, we don't. You hit the green share screen button at the bottom, right?
I did. Is it on yet?
No.
Oh.
So it should be, it depends where you have it located, but if you can
okay, let's try
your desktop. If you hit your desktop, if you find your desktop.
Oh, I think I didn't hit share when let's see here. Share.
There you go. It's coming. There you go. Okay.
Okay, so.
Yeah, we're okay.
Is it up now?
It is up. Yeah. So all you have to do is hit slideshow. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, there we go.
There you go.
Is that okay?
It's great. Yes.
Okay, great. Okay.
Are we going to be recording this? Is that possible or not? Oh, it is recording. My apologies.
Yes. Belinda is recording it for us. And like I mentioned this morning, it'll be on the ABI website as well. So, well, these are just a few of the precursors, to caring science. We know that caring didn't just start in 1977, 1978 in nursing, because caring was very much a part of our professional history. And then we had different approaches to the meaning of caring, and of course, this one is developed from the time of Nightingale, and in Canada, actually, the nurse Jeanne Mance in 1642, who was the first lay nurse of New France, or was called Hochelaga then, now Montreal, Quebec. And the name of Hochelaga is a Iroquois name meaning settlement. So, and in Canada, many of you know there's a great honor now to the Indigenous population of the country. So Nightingale, a great scholar of the classics, as well as the developer and of modern nursing, and certainly also her role in the military in the Crimea, where she began to see this ideal of caring and caring for others. And so I won't go through a lot of the information on this slide, but just that we know that she was one of the significant persons who understood the meaning of caring, and she certainly put it into a spiritual framework of doing God's work and love of one's fellow man and woman in our situation, caring for the poor and upholding dignity. And then nursing's history, we had the focus on in the late 19th century on the beginning of practice, curriculum eras, and research eras. And then from an anthropological perspective, archaeologists identified the notion of caring actually in the 1970s with the research on Neanderthal people from who existed from 40 to 100,000 years ago, but they're discovering new Homo sapien and different people who preceded Homo sapiens from the point of view of this notion of caring. Like we wouldn't be here on this earth if it were not for caring. And anthropologists determined that it was two elements that focused on the idea of humanity, or the evolution of what it means to be human, was the size of the brain and evidence of caring. And those were established by virtue of how, through their fossil remains, as well as their hieroglyphics and artwork at the time of handicapped people and how people had to be cared for at that particular time. So my background also is as an anthropologist, and so I was always been very interested in the beginning evolutionary history of caring. So then in 1971, Mayeroff published a book called On Caring, and I happened to be teaching at the University of California, San Francisco at the time, and it was in the bookstore. So I was exposed to these patterns of caring by Mayeroff very early on in my career, before caring had come to the fore within nursing. So we know this is significant within our college, that idea of knowing, alternating rhythms, patience, trust, humility, hope, and courage. And so I think that all new faculty might have access also to Mayeroff's book on caring. It's a very significant book, very small, but very significant. So our beginning theory area, was with some of our early nursing theorists and nursing scholars were Wald, Dock, and Goodrich. And they identified the concept of compassion within the Henry Street settlement in New York City. And then Peplau, and I used her work a lot when I was a doctoral student because of her ideas of interpersonal relationships. It was in psych nursing, however, but I thought of her relative to this notion of this transpersonal relationship that she identified about 1952 and beyond as one of our significant nursing theorists. And then Henderson in 1964, achieving wholeness of mind and body and developing 14 basic human needs in nursing. And her definition of nursing was adopted by the International Council of Nurses. And then in research, of course, it was Faye Abdullah. She identified nursing research, or founded it within the context of nursing as a science. And she was a Deputy Surgeon General of the US during her professional career. And then Travel B, another one whom I used years ago on human-to-human relationship model. And then Orlando Peltier, her deliberative nursing process theory and the dynamic nurse-patient relationship. Pattison and Zirad, who has been very significant in our work in caring, and certainly in Drs. Boykin and Schoenhofer's work of nursing as caring, and the idea of the nursing situation, of the call for nursing and the response on the part of nursing professionals. And then Dr. Leininger, she she identified transcultural nursing, but she was working on this idea of transcultural caring in the 1950s when she was completing her PhD at the University of Washington. She and Dr. Jody Glittenberg were the first people that just shared this idea that caring is the essence of nursing at the 1977 ANA conference. So in 1978 is when she was advancing caring, and I was a doctoral student at the University of Utah at that time. And then Watson, of course, around the same era, 1979, transpersonal caring theory. And so Dr. Watson wrote her first book on the philosophy and science of caring, and it was published in 1979. And then for myself, I was probably the first person in nursing who did the first study on caring, a research study on caring. And the work was finished in 81 and published in the 1980s. So going back to this historical evolution, Leininger in the 50s and 60s, she had developed a study of care phenomena with the GATS of the indigenous people of the Eastern Highlands of New Guinea. And if anybody knows Dr. Leininger, she had a lot of amazing stories from her time when she was with the GATS of people. She visited them again at different times and was still honored, to be part of these wonderful people whom she, advanced the idea of care and caring with not only women, but also men in the culture. And she was the first nurse anthropologist, founder of the discipline of transcultural nursing. She was the director of the first nurse scientist program at the University of Colorado when she declared nursing as a human science. And I was getting my baccalaureate and master's degree at that time. And I met her and it changed my life completely, because then I wanted to study with her and study nursing as a human science, which at that time, the notion of positivism in science and in nursing science was coming to the fore, because we were addressing ourselves certainly as nursing scientists. And then the founder of the contemporary caring movement in nursing was with Leininger, with Glittenberg, who declared that caring is the essence of nursing, the central domain of nursing knowledge and action. And then at the same time, it was Dr. Watson. So Leininger was initially at the University of Washington in Seattle, and then she became the dean of the University of Utah and developed the first transcultural nursing doctoral program, of which I was one of her first students. And then Dr. Watson had not yet become the dean of the University of Colorado, but she wrote her first book and was developing her first Caritas ideas within that book. And so with Leininger, she's written many books, and her theory was called Culture, Care, Diversity, and Universality, or Worldwide Theory of Nursing. And I think since we are engaging with the main concepts now of diversity, inclusivity, social justice, equity, we need to look at Dr. Leininger's work, because she was the first person in nursing that identified the concept of diversity. And so her theory showed that cultures and persons within them were diverse, but at the same time, there were universal ideals, in relationship to caring that were could be identified. And so that is part of her worldwide theory of nursing. And her most recent book, she passed away in 2012, and McFarlane and Waby Alamai carried on her tradition of writing, I think, the fourth edition of her book on Leininger's theory. And then our International Association for Human Caring Charter was established in 1987 in San Francisco when we were there. And there were a number of us around the table, including Dr. Boykin, when we began to identify that we needed an association. And the International Journal for Human Caring was identified and established in 1989. So this notion of theory-guided education, research, administration, and practice was the focus. And so Leininger first wrote her article, The Phenomenon of Caring, the Essence and Central Focus of Nursing, in the American Nurses Foundation in March of 1977. So that isn't sometimes readily available, but if anybody wants it, I do have that article. So the first caring conference was established in 1978 at the University of Utah College of Nursing, where it was on the phenomena and nature of caring. And there were not many of us at that first conference. It was Leininger, Watson, Glittenberg, M. Bevis, who was very focused on caring education. She's passed away, of course. And Catherine Gardner, Erlinda Wheeler, Joycine Boyle, Gott, and me. We were the 3 PhD students that attended that conference, and we were very overjoyed that we were invited. And so Dr. Gott and I did the philosophy of caring from different perspectives. Dr. Gott from Kurosaltis model in philosophy, and mine was a metaphysics of caring. So as I mentioned, the IAHC was established in 1987 with 35 charter members. And then our International Journal for Human Caring, established in 1987 with Dr. Leininger, and then Dr. Valentine were the editors, and now Dr. Zane Wolf has been the editor for a long time. And she is Dean Emeritus from LaSalle University in Philadelphia. And we had our first International Caring Conference, which is kind of interesting. It was the 35th one. Well, that's not quite so. We had one in Canada, in Ottawa, Ontario. And then we also had, we actually had 2. We had another one in Montreal. And but this one in Kyoto was, again, looking at the universality of caring. And then the international conferences on caring, and the first and second virtual conferences were just held in the last few years since the COVID. So this Leininger, with her focus on caring, published the first book from the first 3 caring conferences, where not many of us were present, called Caring, an Essential Human Need. And my philosophy of caring is published in there, and also Dr. Gott's, and all of us that presented a paper are published in the 1981 book. And then since I was a student of Dr. Leininger, I was also, previous to becoming a doctoral student, I had finished a degree in anthropology, and I've always been interested in contemporary anthropology and contemporary culture and its focus on nursing, and especially studying institutions. So previously I had done 2 hospitals in the past, one a pediatric and one a general hospital, before I did study caring in another hospital and advance the theory of bureaucratic caring. And then Gott, of course, I said she did a philosophy of caring. And then Watson's work has been significant over the years since 1978, 79. And her book and other editions of it, The Philosophy and Science of Caring, Nursing, Human Science, and Human Care. She always wished she had made that in her title, Human Caring, but it came out as Care. And then Caring Science as Sacred Science, which is her latest book. And she also wrote a book on unitary caring science and published in 2018. And so her theory is, of course, the transpersonal relationship between the nurse and the other, the patient. And she advanced an idea about the moral idea of nursing for the protection, preservation, and enhancement of human dignity. She advanced 10 curative factors and refined them to processes, and then now to the 10 caritas processes, which are well established in her work. And then in the, I'm trying to think exactly when the Watson Caring Science Institute, but in the, I think after 2012, she established the Institute. And just last week, Dr. Smith and Dr. Butcher and myself, as well as Dr. Watson, presented in Latin America virtually, which was under the auspices of the Watson Caring Science Institute. And then Sister Roach wrote the book on caring, the human mode of being in 1984. She first wrote a monograph at the University of Toronto, which was published in 1984, before her 87 and 2002 books. And of course, at FAU, we use the 6 C's of caring identified by Sister Dr. Simone Roach. And then, of course, we've been so fortunate in our college to have had Drs. Boykin and Schoenifer. Dr. Boykin was the dean for many, many years, and they wrote the book, Nursing is Caring, a Model for Transforming Practice. So these are Roach's books. I always liked Roach's statement, caring is not unique to nursing. Caring is unique in nursing. It exists as a sole example of specific characteristics in nursing and is the locus of all attributes used to describe nursing. Because there's always a critique, as we know, that caring is not unique to nursing. So this is Dr. Roach's perspective, and I use it all the time. And of course, Roach's 6 C's, and I think I've got another slide that identifies that. And they are the subjective evidence-based evaluative criteria of the FAU College of Nursing curriculum. And the first establishment of a caring science center was at the University of Colorado. And it was the first program on the science and art of human caring, established in 1983 when I went to be a faculty with Dr. Watson at the University of Colorado. So I was also, she had a caring center and a caring research center, which I was part of both, plus helping to develop the PhD in caring science at the University of Colorado. And then in Scandinavia, they were developing caring from the 1970s, actually, in Denmark, Sweden, Finland, and Norway. And they have a journal, the Scandinavian Journal of Caring Sciences. And Dr. Delmar is very well established as a nursing theorist, and Dr. Hodestoter, I'm not exactly sure how to fully pronounce her name, but they have advanced caring within Scandinavia. Leininger established her journal in 1989, Journal of Transcultural Nursing, of which many caring articles are within that. One of them is mine in there. And as I mentioned, the Scandinavian Journal, and then the IJHC. where many of us publish our caring work. Again, Roach's 6 C's, and then she identified the 6 C's as conscience. I always see this as an ethical and moral attitude, and then compassion, the experience to share and suffer with the woundedness of others, and competence, knowledge, skill, and critical analysis within the context of caring, confidence, trust in assessing the ability and status of caring. I think this is crucial for all of us as caring scientists to have the confidence in terms of the articulation of caring when we share that with not only people within our own discipline, but people who are outside of our discipline, but having that level of confidence, which is necessary, that we have this tremendous belief in who we are and what we do and what matters most. And then, of course, comportment and affirming our professional behavior. I also see comportment, in my view, as symbolic interactionism, in the idea that how we are, people know and see who we are, even though we might not even articulate it in language. So as we know, in terms of our nursing science, we were pleased to have this opportunity to learn from 1978, 79, in Advances in Nursing Science, Carver's Ways of Knowing as empirical, personal, ethical, and aesthetic. And then socio-political, especially by White, was articulated within that context of ways of knowing. And then the older concept of nursing, which is still used, especially in some colleges of nursing, person, environment, health, and nursing. And Dr. Smith has always stated that nursing needs to be caring, within that for conceptual framework. And then, of course, the paradigms in nursing, the empirical, the interpretive, the critical, and now we have identified, especially with unitary caring science of Dr. Rogers, Watson, Smith, and Butcher, this notion of caring as a paradigm. And then the meta paradigms, of course, I identified Fawcett's concepts, Parsi's notion of human becoming, Rogers' unitary science, human environment intergality, and then the unitary caring paradigm of Watson, Smith, and Butcher. And in 2012, Dr. Boykin advanced the Anne Boykin Institute for the Advancement of Caring in Nursing. And so here we are, all of us who are board members, as well as people who participate with the Anne Boykin Institute. And every year we have the Summer Academy, whereby a particular topic related to caring or the social world is, an educational world is identified, and we have beautiful dialogues related to caring and where do we go from here. Watson's Caring Science Institute, which is alive and well in many, many parts of the world, in Latin America, in the United States, in Canada, Latin America, Japan, Middle East, all over. And she is changing the world by virtue of caring science. And so she has teamed, her ideas have interfaced with Dr. Martha Rogers and Dr. Marlene Smith and Howard Butcher in relationship to nursing as unitary caring science. And she recently published a book, Nursing as a Sacred Science, focusing on the central aspect of spirituality within nursing as caring. And then Dr. Smith, she's written books, written articles related to the disciplinary perspectives of nursing. And one of her most recent one is regenerating nursing's disciplinary perspectives. And so she identified what nursing is and where we need to go. And Dr. Smith's theory is the theory of unitary caring, published in her book on nursing theories, nursing practice in 2020. And then, of course, at FAU College of Nursing, we have our caring curricula across the whole spectrum of programs. Again, going back to the state of the science, caring in the human health experience is the focus of the discipline identified by Newman and others in 1991 in Advances in Nursing Science. And then it was revisited in 2008 with Dr. Smith's colleagues, Dr. Newman, Dexheimer, Ferris, and Jones, and then her most recent one that she wrote in Regenerating Nursing Knowledge. And then, of course, we have the essentials of nursing practice, and Dr. Smith contributed a great deal to many of the changes that have occurred in the last AACN essentials forthcoming, with caring being firmly established within it. And then, let's see, then we're re-envisioning this roadmap of what nursing is as caring. So in 2021, by the American Nurses Association, we can begin to see the change that's been articulated about nursing integrates the art and science of caring. So, and focuses on the protection, promotion, and optimization of health and human functioning, the prevention of illness and injury, the facilitation of healing, and alleviation of suffering through compassionate presence. So, the definition goes further, but we're seeing here this really significant change into a new definition of nursing as caring. So we can begin to feel very, very confident within the Christine Lynn College of Nursing related to the advancement of caring within all levels of professional education and professional practice. And so we are a way ahead of the game, I think, because we have been developing caring science for probably the last 30 years within our college. And as I mentioned, we are the preeminent leader in advancing caring science. And our former deans, Professors Emerita and Boykin, Marlene Smith, they facilitated the curriculum development on caring science for all programs. And then, as I mentioned, we are a part of Ann Boykin's Institute for the Advancement of Caring. And Dr. Smith, Dr. King, Dr. Gordon, and myself, we're developing a certificate in caring science. Hopefully it'll be ready for distribution in 2023, we think in the spring. There's a lot of work involved with it, however. But our process for certification went to the Board of Nursing for the state of Florida. So, or it's going. So hopefully we will have this certificate ready as in the spring. And then we did apply to the NLN to become a Center of Excellence in Caring Science. And we did not receive that yet, but hopefully Dr. Eggenberger and others are going to be continuing to work on that. So I think at FAU, we can see how we've advanced caring science through the meaning of caring in the disciplinary approach, as well as in nursing situations. And nursing situations were advanced by the book Berry, Dr. Charlotte Berry, retired now, hopefully can come back after her 1 year away, and Doctors Gordon and King, who have written this wonderful book on nursing as caring in nursing situations. And of course, we always use the foundational work of Mayeroff and Roach and in our philosophy of caring. And then now we're also looking at increasing our knowledge of Rogers unitary science, especially within our doctoral program, and unitary caring science with Dr. Butcher. And then our vision is nurturing the wholeness of persons and environment through caring relationships. And our motto or byword is the dance of the caring persons. And that's in the center of our lobby as we enter into the College of Nursing. So these are just the philanthropists that helped our college, or the Lynns, the late Eugene Lynn and late Lucy Edmondson, Frank Newman, Charles and Dorothy Schmidt. In the late 80s, they made possible the first nursing program and established Christine E. Lynn Eminent Scholar Chair in Nursing in 1984. And in 2006, a $10 million gift was given to us by Christine Lynn, and it was matched by the state so that we would have our current building, which this current building is beautiful and was considered or identified as a green building and received the LEED recognition, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, one of the first in South Florida to receive the LEED recognition. So these are just some of the dates, and I don't know if I need to go through them, but you know, the BSN was established in 1979, the accelerated BSN in 2003, and Doctors Boykin and Schoenfer and Dr. Toohey, Terry Toohey, Dr. Kathy Appleton, a few of the earlier faculty here established this nursing as caring baccalaureate program. And there was a great effort made to determine that the BSN would be a caring program. And then in '88, we established a few of the MSN programs, and then developed the nurse practitioner and holistic nursing MSN programs. And in 2001, the Lewis and Ann Green Memory and Wellness Center was established. And 2003, the Doctor of Nursing Science. And previous to the DNS program, we were working on a PhD, but we couldn't use the term. This is just some interesting scuttlebutt, I guess, because the University of Florida had the PhD in nursing in Florida. So our initial one was a Doctor of Nursing Science, but then Dr. Boykin was able to get it reestablished as a PhD. And then, so we had the PhD in 2006, and in 2007, we had the DNP program. And then in 2012 was the Ann Boykin Institute. And then 2019, under the leadership of Dr. Kay Edwards, we received the HRSA approval for federally qualified health center. And then we had a second site in West Palm Beach under Dr. Edwards' development. And holistic nursing program was developed, which is AHNA, Association of Holistic Nurses Association, qualified with certification accessibility under the leadership of Doctors Gordon and France. Dr. France is retired at the moment. And then we established the Diversity, Inclusivity, Equity, Social Justice Initiative under Suzanne Folks, and the Interprofessional Education, Research, and Practice under the leadership of Dr. Terry Eggenberger, who is director, and she has an office in the provost's office as well for the interprofessional program. Nursing, engineering, and IT with nursing science, a joint MSM program or MS program. And then the Labyrinth Project, which is overseen by Dr. Gordon on a holistic resource in healthcare education, research, and practice. And then, as I mentioned before, the certificate program is being developed by Dr. Smith, Gordon, King, and myself. So let me see, it's a lot, isn't it? So I think I've said most of these things. The caring theorists that are part of our college are Borkin and Schonifer. Nursing is caring theory. Dr. Smith, unitary caring science. Dr. Butcher, unitary caring science. Ray, theory of bureaucratic caring and transcultural caring dynamics in nursing and healthcare. Ray and Turkel, relational caring complexity, and Turkel's work on struggling to find a balance between economics and caring. And then Parker, Berry, and King on community nursing practice, and Terry Toohey on gerontological nursing and caring. And then the methodologists, and I apologize, I didn't put Dr. Leininger in here. She is the first caring methodologist, and then followed by myself with caring science inquiry, Dr. Turkel and Watson on caring inquiry, and Dr. Butcher on unitary caring methodology. And these are just some of the books that relate to caring with written by and published by FAU faculty. So again, the Berry, Gordon, and King book on nursing case studies and caring across the practice spectrum, which is our nursing, caring in nursing situations. And Dr. Boykin, Living a Caring-Based Program, Power, Politics, and Public Policy. And then Boykin and Schonifer's Nursing is Caring, a Model for Transforming Practice. And Boykin, Schonifer, and Valentine on Healthcare System Transformation for Nursing and Healthcare. Dr. Butcher, recent publication on unitary caring science, his new methodology on hermeneutic phenomenological research methodology. And then he has another one forthcoming on critical, I believe it's, let me see here if I can find it. Community-based participatory research guided by critical caring theory. And then Terry Toohey's and Dr. Jett, she used to be on our faculty a number of years ago on their gerontological nursing and healthy aging. And Dr. Toohey has another book out on gerontological nursing. And then Davidson, Ray, myself, and Turkel, we have a book, Nursing, Caring, and Complexity Science for Human Environment Wellbeing. And then Dunphy and Winman Brown have Primary Care with a caring focus. And France and myself, we developed a paper for, this is a Australian publication on studying caring science in nursing. And then Loxon's Technological Competency in Caring. He has multiple books related to technological competency, his theory. of technological competency as caring in nursing. He is also an eminent scholar with the University of Tokushima, where he studies caring and technology and robotics. And he just developed the Rosanna Loxon Institute in Asia and Japan and the Philippines. And of course, he's working with the other scholars on nursing robots. And we've had some discussion about whether or not robots can be caring or whether they're assistive to nurses. And I think the ethics of that has not been fully resolved from the standpoint of whether or not robots can have a caring consciousness as such. But a professor in the United Kingdom has been doing a lot of research on robotics and different cultures and the actual consciousness within the context of these various culture groups. And I'm trying to think of her name right now, but it's just escaping me at the moment. And these are just also some additional publications for myself on caring within the institutional culture, and recent publication on my theory of bureaucratic caring in the IJHC. And also I have a book, Transcultural Caring Dynamics in Nursing and Healthcare. And then Dr. Smith and Lear, they've written about middle range theory in nursing. And Dr. Lear was on our faculty for a number of years as Associate Dean of Research. And then Dr. Smith, Turkel, and Wolf, they wrote the book, Caring and Nursing Classics, an Essential Resource. These are all important books for us as faculty members at FAU's CEL, College of Nursing. Dr. Smith's recent publication, 5th edition, Nursing Theories and Nursing Practice, and also her Theory of Unitary Caring is within that book. And then the other book that has recently come out by Rosa, Horton, Deutsch, Watson, and then 3 of us from FAU, myself, Dr. Smith, and Dr. Turkel, a handbook for caring science, expanding the paradigm. And then Dr. Loxon's work is with the Japanese scholars on nursing robots. And then Dr. Tappan, Advancing Nursing Research. She has a new publication in process. And then Dr. Christine Williams, she also has written a book on therapeutic interaction in nursing. She's currently retired. And then our online journal, which is edited by Charlotte Berry and Beth King, Journal of Art and Aesthetics in Nursing and Healthcare. So I just probably missed some significant caring science scholars, but I tried to remember as many as I could, both outside of our college as well as within it. And then we have many, many new scholars in nursing who are caring scientists, and they're publishing in the International Journal for Human Caring, Nursing Science Quarterly, Advances in Nursing Science, and many others. So thank you to all of our nursing caring scholars here who are present at this particular meeting. And I think this is the end of my slides. Yes, so I will be open to any questions that you might have. Let's see if I can close this up. And let's see, can I close this thing?
You can just stop share.
Oh, I can. Okay.
Is it?
Well, now I've knocked it out of my thing here. Stop. Well, there we go.
Stop share. There you go. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. So,
You know, Dr. Ray, I've heard you give this part of this talk at least a couple of times. I always learned so much, and the perspective of the very beginnings, our history and where we are today. It's just, it gives you hope and joy, really, to see the strides that we've made, especially culminating in last year's adaptation of caring into our nursing language, of our governing agencies. I mean, it's just like so incredible. Just really applaud this presentation and all the work that went into it. I do know that some people asked if it was going to be recorded because they, wanted to be able to see it. So I would hope we would be able to post this, as an assignment, in courses. Katie, you're all over it. We're not allowed to do lectures anymore, but you could post it as a resource, right, Dr. Hines? Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. And I just, a few things that are going on that you might not know about. One is, well, we did this survey, one of our strategic goals, and there's a lot of strategic goals for the College of Nursing geared now around increasing our caring science scholarship. So I'm leading the 2 quarters project on increasing our caring science scholarships. So we did a survey of the last year of what people have published, what they have, how many students included caring science in their comps and their dissertations, journal articles, presentations for all faculty and students and everything. And it was very useful and insightful. And we'll be sending the survey again at the end of the year to compare. Hopefully we've grown. But I was looking back and I realized there's a few goals that we have for that committee that Dr. Butcher, I will come to you about, because one of them is about putting caring science as a standing item on the PhD committee or the research committee, whatever we're going to end up calling that committee. But I think it needs to be in both of them, because we're trying, you have really led the way, Dr. Butcher, on ensuring really that all our students are grounding their work around caring science. And same thing with DMP. Dr. Hain has really been, proactive in trying to make that happen. And the other thing is that in addition to the caring science certificate, myself, Dr. Ortega, Dr. Hain, we are close to finishing 2 certificate programs that are grounded in caring science. One is compassionate care of, that's the title of it, compassionate care of older adults at risk for or experiencing dementia, and targeting CNAs. And the other is same title, but targeting first responders. And so we've worked with DMP students to create those certificates. So they're supposed to launch in the spring also. So we're excited about that. Yeah.
Oh, how wonderful. Thank you, Lisa, for your comments. And it's incredible what all of you are doing and what you have done within your sphere of research and practice and education. So thank you so much.
I need to be writing more about caring science, but I have one question. Whenever we cite Dr. Leininger, I struggle in my own and trying to guide my students, like which publication are you supposed to be citing, because yours are pretty clear cut, the intent, same with, Marlene Smith's theory, or even Boykin and Schoenhofer's work, they have clear-cut purposes, but I get really confused with Leininger, like when I'm supposed to be citing her original work, when I'm supposed to be citing some of her later work, and I'm really not sure how to guide the students as to what they should be using either.
Well, her 1991 publication where she had, put forth her theory of diversity and universality, nursing as caring, I'm trying to think of it now, but she, her model has not changed a lot over the course of her publications. And, you know, since her death, McFarlane and Alamay have written on her. Myself, I've written on her ethno-nursing methodology in the qualitative research book by Beck. And, you know, I don't think her work has changed that much, but for example, if you wanted a more contemporary book, it would be McFarlane and Webe, and they're writing on Leininger's culture, care, diversity, and universality theory. That and then other people who have used and applied Leininger's work are written up in that book. And so, for example, Dr. Mary Bridget Martin and myself, we've written on in that book on the United Nations, and you know, some other work that Mary and I have done in the past and things like that. So, but if you get the that is the most recent book, 2018 publication by McFarlane and Webe Alama.
Okay,
On
okay, that's
Leininger.
great.
It's called Leininger's Culture, Care, Diversity, and Universality Theory.
Yeah, I've been seeing the students cite that a lot, and then I wasn't sure if that was okay, you know, or if we were supposed to be citing Leininger. I think maybe citing her original work in one place, like as a sentinel work, and then referring to the McFarland.
Yes, well, her 1991 is one of her original, like where she has the model. In 1978, she did write about her theoretical perspectives on transcultural nursing and caring science or
Okay.
caring. But when she first developed her model, it was 1991. It's an NLN
Okay.
publication. It's probably out of print. I have it, you know, if you would like to borrow it sometime, I have the book. But that is when she first developed her model. And, you know, with her sunrise model. Oh, wait a second. Now, she did in a qualitative research book in 1985, she actually put that model in there, and it was written
Oh,
by her. The qualitative nursing research was written by her in 1985, and she did have the model in there. Not the full model that she has today, but it was first identified in 1985.
85.
Yeah,
You
and
you are
then
just a wealth of information.
well, I've been her mentee for all these years, right? And you know, followed her work, and you know, as I mentioned, I wouldn't be in this position without her. You know, I first met her in 1968 when she came in our class in my MS program. And, you know, I always used to tease her about her flaming red hair and her leopard skin dress. And she came in the class and she said, nursing is a human science. And I said to myself, I want to study with her, you know, once I heard that. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I found a way because she was a clinical specialist in psych mental health, and I was in family and maternal child and that specialty at that time. So, but she let me in the class, and it was well, another little thing about her, she had written the book. Well, she hadn't written it yet, but almost. Nursing and Anthropology, Two Worlds to Blend. But that course was about that, nursing and anthropology. And then she wrote the book. And it's one of her best books. I love it. Nursing and Anthropology, Two Worlds to Blend. Yep.
Awesome.
And so I was always then drawn to the study of anthropology, and still am. You know, I just looked up to see all their new things on the issues that we're dealing with, you know, diversity, inclusivity, and social justice and that kind of thing. So, but yeah, she was quite a, you know, paved the way for all of us. So, and I think Dr. Schonifer had her hand up there. Did you have a question, Sabina, for us, for me?
Oh, I was just relating to something that Lisa had said about, and wanted to let everybody know or remind y'all that all of these faculty learning circles, the recordings are on the ABI Facebook or website,
Yes, thank you. Yes, that's for sure. So,
including, there's a lot of other work, a lot of other resources in addition to the learning circles. And one resource is your work, Dee, on ethics.
oh, well, thank you. I guess that's quite a while ago.
Yeah, but it's still there. It's still valuable.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think we put a link, didn't we, Katie, into the course, into the ABI website. Yeah. But if the students watch on there, which would probably be good for you all, I don't know if you track that kind of thing, but then we can't track if they actually watch the whole thing or not. Where in Canvas, you can see how much they followed how much time they spent viewing it.
I
Yeah.
was thinking that new faculty need to know that those resources are on the ABI page in particular.
Amen.
Thank you, Sabina. And I see Lenny is on the call here. And Lenny also was one of Dr. Leininger's first PhD students. And so I didn't know if you had some more to share, Lenny, about some of Dr. Leininger's publications or her theory. Since
Yes, I was her student in 1994, 95 when I was at Wayne State University finishing my master degree. And Dr. Leininger was my advisor, and I was studying under her for 2 years. Just back to Lisa's questions about the book. That first book, 1991 book, I have the book too. So I have all her book in my office. So if you want to check some of the book, you're welcome to borrow some. And then 1991 book that's original theory. And I think Dr. Ray's probably recall that theory is very long. It's called Theory of Cultural Care, Diversity and Universality. And that theory was changed and shortened to cultural care theory later on because people just shorten it. And so Dr. Leininger just agreed, say, okay, since everyone call it cultural care theory, now it's a cultural care theory. And some people refer it to transcultural nursing theory. But the original title of the theory is called Theory of Cultural Care, Diversity and Universality. And that book is a green, bluish cover with all the global. And Dr. Leininger referred to the bubble book. So, and that one is the original and has all the sunrise model. The latest one was this one. I don't know if you guys can see it.
yes, that was a McFarlane and Alameda book.
Correct. Right. That is the latest one, and it's the sunrise model. Remain the same, but has a little bit expansion, more wording to describe the detail, but all the theory, all the form, all the model remain the same. And Dr. Leininger also mentioned something about she doesn't like to use the name called tool or instrument because to study the human. So she called those tool or instrument enabler. So she calls sunrise model, everything is enabler, but it refer pretty much the same thing.
Dr.
I have a
Leininger
question for you,
always had
Dee.
an interesting point of view about the concept of subculture. She didn't believe that, everything was a culture, all groups, she also struggled with the word ethnicity, because she believed in the concept of culture itself, and so, as students of hers, we were privileged to kind of see the thinking that she had, she would be very happy today to see that the concept of cultural diversity and inclusivity terms that she used many years ago are being, used not only in nursing, but across all disciplines nowadays. Yeah, so
I wanted to thank you, Dee, for your presentation. It's so important because it does give us, anybody new to caring science, that breadth and depth of the knowledge, so that people are really aware that this is substantive knowledge related to caring science. So the presentation is so important. And like Lisa said, I have heard you several times with this, but you always enrich it, you always add things, and it's just wonderful. So I thank you. I wanted to say too that, Marilyn Parker, and then I joined her in the Nursing Theories and Nursing Practice book. And that book is known because it has original primary source material from nursing theorists who wrote the chapters. And when they didn't, they often identified experts that they wanted to write those chapters. So Leininger wrote the chapter in Nursing Theories and Nursing Practice. And then McFarland and Alamay took that material and then expanded on it to reflect the current work too. So I'm just referring to Lisa's question because that is a chapter in that book that is written by either Dr. Leininger or again expanded on by her.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That's
Yeah,
so-
really, that's fantastic. Thank you, Dean Smith. I
Mhm.
gotta tell you, I use your book still all the time to cite caring science people because it's so inclusive.
Yeah, and I think in that book, because of our values, and I think Marilyn Parker also held those values. And then as I worked with her, and then she decided not to continue as editor in the last edition. But I think it's a resource for caring science because there are many middle range theories, not only Boykin and Schoenhofer, Leininger and Watson, these big, as I say, grand theories, but then also a range of middle range theories on caring as well.
Yeah, really great point. And we need to talk about that more.
Mhm.
And Dr. Allagood's book, she has Leininger in there and a number of us, with the middle range theory. And believe it or not, she's going to do a 12th edition. I think it's a 12th edition. And so, the 11th was just published and I'm thinking, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
but I got a memo from Dr. Sherry Kaufman. In that particular book, whoever has used the theory initially is asked to write the article or the chapter, so for mine, Dr. Kaufman wrote the theory of bureaucratic caring. So, and they initiated that theory in their curriculum at Nevada State College. And so anyway, she wrote me yesterday to ask if, because Dr. Allagood wants to do another edition of nursing theorists and their work, so anyway, Leininger's in that book. And Marlene, are you in that one, Nursing Theorists and Their Work by Allagood?
No, I'm not.
I'm not selling books, but I just want to reiterate that the book that Marlene is editor now and started out with Marilyn Parker and now it's Marlene. That is original source material.
It is.
Uh-huh.
Allagood's book, as good as it is, and I recommend it, that is not original source material, but it's applied what we call
That's true.
applied
And
material.
you're in the Allagood book too. You and
Well, that's because
Dr. Parker.
when Marguerite gave up that chapter, rather than trying to beat the bushes and twist anybody's arm to write the chapter, I said, okay, I'll write it myself this time.
That's good. Well, I'm glad you did. But now we're sharing all this, how you get caring research and caring education or caring models published. Initially, it was extremely hard. I was rejected initially, from publication after I did the theory of bureaucratic caring and said it wasn't a theory. And here I just got a PhD from it, right? With 5 high level types, including Dr. Leininger on my committee. And, but, you know, just trying to get caring research published was very, very, very hard until we got our own journal. And, but if you want to have some work published in other journals, it was very hard to get into them. And, you know, I'm helping a graduate over in the Philippines right now, getting her caring research in print and trying to communicate methodology, caring inquiry methodology. And you know, where, you know, some of the reviewers have difficulty understanding that language actually. And so, so even after all these years, it's still difficult. You know?
What you're talking about right now, Dee, reminds me that we need to, although Peggy Chin is not known as a caring scientist or whatever, Peggy Chin's work helped many of us understand and expand our understanding and adopt the idea of human science. And still, like, I'm also working with people in various, you know, nationalities, and I always communicate with Peggy and say, you know, I'm working with a student, she's got this great paper going, and will you take a look at it? And of course, the ones that I work with always have a caring foundation, but just Peggy's commitment to human science, I think, has helped caring science tremendously.
Yes, I agree with you. Yeah, for sure. And Dr. Parsi as well, right? In Nursing Science Quarterly. And Dr. Butcher, you just got one of yours published and the second one on the way, I think, right?
Well, I'm the editor of the research issues section, so every 4 times a year now, I got to put something out there. So I'm going to be pretty busy.
Yes. Well, we're glad you're the editor of the research section, right? You know, so that's a good resource for our students, you know, to help, you know, get their work published and,
Exactly.
So in that journal, Nursing Science Quarterly, people or scholars or students, I mean, or graduates, they don't necessarily have to have a theory, do they, to publish in Nursing Science Quarterly?
Well,
They do.
yeah, they do.
But, or
Or
theory
like
guided, is it like theory guided or?
it should be grounded in a nursing
Nursing theory.
extant theory,
Yeah.
to be published in Nursing Science Quarterly.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they're expanding into mid-range theories and things. So it's not just the grand theories, but they're grounded in nursing science.
Yeah.
Has Parsi given up her objection to mid-range theories?
Not personally, but she is open to having people, you know, folks are publishing mid-range theories in
Okay.
there, but she has her own views on certain things. But
Okay, sure.
but I had a question for you. You know, we've been talking a lot about Leininger, and I don't want to. I guess I am going to be a little critical here. So you have also a transcultural theory,
Yes.
right? I have that. I looked at that book, and my students, use that book as well as they can choose either Leininger's transcultural theory for their assignment or your transcultural theory.
Yeah.
And when I compare and look at the differences, and I'm been seeing more clearly, I think, what some of those differences are. So even though Leininger, and we do need to credit her for declaring caring is the essence of nursing, from my perspective, her view of caring in nursing is very different from the way that we here at FAU and in the realm of caring science think of caring. And what I mean by that is that her view of caring is through the lens of culture and transcultural nursing. And our view of caring is really grounded in hermeneutics, existential phenomenology, Roach's work, Meyerhoff's work. It's about what caring is beyond culture. And so when I look at, and so what I'm saying is that Leininger's view of caring is limiting. It's limiting. However, in your theory, you have caring as a central concept, and the way that you view caring within your transcultural theory is much more expansive, because you have a whole chapter on caring that's grounded in the view of caring that we hold here. It's
Yeah.
not just like, okay, so
It's philosophical and existential. and-
right, exactly. So I think that the transcultural theory of caring that is more consistent and relevant to our view of caring here is actually your work and not Leininger's work.
Well, I'll put
And
it
I was wondering
this
what,
way.
because you've worked both with Leininger and you have your own view. So what I'm going to ask you, if you could talk a little bit about, is how you think your view of caring is different from Leininger, because this is what I'm seeing, but I'm not sure if you see it the same way.
Well, thank you for the question. Well, Dr. Leininger would probably argue that everything is culture, right? You know, that would be her initial argument, that even how people are interpreting caring, maybe from a philosophical, perspective, and that she might put forth an argument like that. But well, when I first studied with Dr. Leininger, the first semester, when I did that philosophy of caring, and I was studying metaphysics at the time. And so I was very steeped in, when you make a claim about someone, how do you support that claim philosophically? And then you use the literature that has been identified, both without the discipline and within the discipline itself, So Leininger always used the term, and maybe Lenny can support me in this, the term care. She actually at the 1987 conference where we were going to establish the International Association for Human Caring, she did not want caring. She wanted care. So those of us around the table, who believed in this process of relationship, we had to argue for that, and we won that term, as opposed to her just having the care. And when I was sharing it in the presentation, when Jean, her second book on nursing, human science, human care, she did not like that title, but for some reason it got published in that manner, but she wanted, maybe she didn't pay as much attention, but she wanted caring as opposed to care. But Leininger's focus was more on care. And so her idea of transcultural, like when she advanced her ideas, they were more within transcultural nursing as care,
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. And so that would be the distinction. And mine was more within that context of caring and that moral perspective, that ethical perspective. And so I don't know if that answers your question or not.
It does. I didn't think of it in terms of the term care versus caring, but I think the distinction is there, and it's an important one, because of where you ground caring in your transcultural theory is different from where Leininger is grounding care in her transcultural theory. I see it as a very important distinction. I never heard anybody talk about that. So
If I can jump in. in my work, and I know some of you all have also worked with people who speak a Latin language. And so that is the struggle and work that me and all the people I work with in Portugal or Colombia or places that have a Latin-based language, they always want to translate caring as cuidado. Cuidado means care. It does not mean caring.
Mhm.
So right now we're actually, nursing as caring is being translated into Portuguese, yay. And we're struggling with articulating caring in Portuguese properly. And I know I just had this discussion with somebody a few days ago about, they were going to contact you, Dee, about the struggle in Canada.
Yes, with the
the
French,
adoption of,
French Canadians, yeah, they have no word for caring. And so Dr. Chantal Cara and some of her colleagues who are French Canadian are working with, the powers that be, to try to articulate a language, because I said, well, what about amour? But they said, oh no, we couldn't have love in French, and
They use humanization, right? Humanization as,
yes,
as the
yes,
best,
and
the best.
And I remember when I presented in Montreal on caring, and I think they had a difficult time. I think you were there, weren't you, Sabina, in Montreal at that conference where we had that somewhat of a discussion between
long time ago.
humanization and care and caring and that kind of thing. But it is true that at that 1987 discussion that we had for the development of the International Association for Human Caring was when Dr. Leininger wanted care, and that was that distinction. So that I think that makes the distinction with the transcultural nursing as care, and care can be not within that transpersonal, compassionate kind of understanding of caring itself, right? So
taking
care of is different from
yes, taking care of versus
and Leininger, I agree with you absolutely, Dee. And I remember hearing Leininger talk, and she always made that distinction. She talked about care, not
yes,
caring. And remember, her studies were about those care practices in cultures.
yeah.
How did people care
Mhm.
for others within cultural? So it really wasn't the transpersonal kind of notion about caring that.
Well, and I think, I'll be honest with you, I think she wanted to distinguish herself from Dr. Watson,
I do too, yeah.
who was the caring scientist, so to speak, and she wanted to be known as the transcultural care scientist. I can tell you that, I think, from my heart, and there was a little rivalry between them,
Yeah. And that's an interesting part of our history, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. So, well, I know it's 2:30, so I think maybe it's time for us to end this meeting, but it was a great discussion, and thank you for all of your participation, and very special. And I'm hoping everybody's going to be safe during Hurricane Ian, as we go forward here tomorrow and the next day. So hopefully our friends and citizens on the other side of Florida and Alabama and Georgia, everybody's going to be okay.
Well, thank you, Dee. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. This was awesome. I've really learned so much. Thank you guys. Take care.
Oh,
Okay,
thank you.
bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Belinda.
You're welcome. I'm going to turn the recording off now, end the recording.
Okay.